So growing up, my father worked for Kodak, and that was it was just something that was around. We went to the Kodak Christmas party and things like that, and I'd visit his office, and he actually worked in the film coding department when I was a teenager. So it's something that was just kind of, I'd say, almost in our blood. Like cameras and photography was just something that was familiar and around. So when I decided I wanted to pursue something in the creative arts, photography was kind of a natural choice. I mean, in a way, if I had realized how technical it was, I probably wouldn't have done it. And so I was actually quite lucky that it was something that was familiar and unintimidating. I made the move from traditional analog and film to digital format formally about 3 years ago. I did so somewhat reluctantly, but I thought about it a lot. And my feeling was that the digital was certainly going to be the future, so it was important for me to be part of that future and to get on board with the digital and make it part of my system before I was forced to. I wanted to do it voluntarily, I guess, if you might say. And over time I learned it, and actually I rented a number of different cameras over a few years, and then finally bought a camera at the beginning of this year. And I bought one that I think will actually be out of date in about 5 years, but I knew that. I knew I wanted in that 5 years, whatever pictures I made, to be something I can do something with. In terms of the speed of technology and the systems and the delivery systems that can bring work so quickly in front of people's eyes, I think that's fine, but I'm really more focused on work that will still have value in 5 years, 10 years, 25 years. I've always shot thinking that I want the work to be of value in the future. So I don't really shoot for, yes, I show work immediately when it's worthwhile or meaningful, but the work I tend to show more short term, like on Instagram or Facebook, tends to be more fun, disposable things, and the work that's more meaningful tends to come out and be shown more quietly and more, more thoughtfully. Okay, David Lynch.
Yeah, let's do that.
When I was doing that picture, like when I was shooting that picture, I said to him, well, you're a film director and you've got a good viewpoint. Can you tell me, I need to decide which film to shoot. Can you tell me if it's gonna remain cloudy or if it's gonna open up in the sun? And he looked around, and he took a puff of his cigarette and he said, it's gonna remain cloudy. So I think you're good, with that. So I was like, great, thank you, that's really helpful. We started shooting, but 20 seconds in, the clouds opened up and it was sunny.
Okay, so that was all wrong.
So he totally got wrong. In fact, I even heard later, he actually does weather reports. Like once or twice a day, he actually does like a kind of David Lynch radio where he broadcasts the weather.
He's pointing very like a little boy, like a very quiet way.
He is very innocent that way. I mean, he's a complex man, I think it's why people are drawn to him.
Right.
One of my favorite pictures in the show is the Billy Joel. I'm not really a big fan of his music. I respect his success, but I don't really listen to him. But it's one of my favorite pictures. I think it really does so many things I like to do and brings it all together in one picture. What happened was I was in a prop place in New York and I saw this applause sign I thought was really cool. So I wrote it down in my notebook, and then when I was planning ideas for this shoot, I decided to go there and rent it. I didn't even tell the client. I rented it, brought it to the shoot. We shot in this hotel room, and he came in and he's like, he was cool, but he said, hey, this isn't really me. Like, I'm not someone who seeks attention all the time, which I think is true, actually. He said, but I'll do it. I think it's a cool idea. So he sits down, we start shooting, and he's like, where's your lights? Because he hears the click. He's like, where's your lights? I said, we're just not using lights. We literally just pulled the drapes just enough so that the sign would light up, and we'd plug it in, it would light up, and then the room would go just the amount of darkness I wanted. And he's like, you're totally fucked up, man. You're awesome. And then I'm like, thank you. And we just kept shooting. And yeah, and it turned out really beautifully.
Awesome story, yeah.
When I approach a shoot for like a portrait shoot, I, of course, am aware of my client, but I'm also aware of making a picture that might have some value in a different context or later on, or historical, historical portrait or whatever. And so the way I think of it is, I guess because when I'm on set, I'm thinking about my client first. So I try to plan my ideas beforehand and kind of lock them in and see how they might work. And then as we're shooting and I'm thinking of my client and their needs, then I'm like trying to squeeze something in there for me too. And that's kind of how I do it. I mean, ultimately, yes, I'm a commercial photographer and I'm proud of that, but just because I'm commercial doesn't mean it can't be interesting and creative and surprising. To me, that's part of the job. It's part of the job to deliver that to my client. Commercial doesn't just mean the magazine asked for this and I deliver this. They asked for this, but I also deliver this and that and something else. Well, I'm planning a book of the portrait work. I'm planning a 30-year retrospective called Uneasy. I also have a project I've been shooting for a long time called Chris Buck's, which is portraits of other people named Chris Buck. And that's close to done, so that'll probably come out in the next year or so. But I have other projects too that I'm kind of just in the beginning stages of, so I don't really want to talk about them that much. But I want to continue doing personal projects more. Initially I started doing them because I thought I could create interest in getting more commercial work, but actually I just kind of like doing them because they're fun and I like the work.